Okay, so I want to just go through one of these tables to help you understand a little better what we're trying to do in this quite complicated table. So I'm going to use the Louisville, Kentucky area on the 1 by 1 degree grid and provide some information about what the table says in order to enable managers and the public alike, scientists, to understand the current status and the potential changes in tree species for each particular area. So I'm going to zero in on this one site. As you can see, I've got a lot of 1 by 1 degree grids here. I'm going to zero in on one called S38E85. That means the southeast corner of that 1 by 1 degree grid is latitude 38 and longitude minus 85 or 85 west. Again, Louisville area. So here's the table. It looks quite complicated and you first look at it again for the Louisville area, and I'm zeroing in on just a portion of the species here. We have 90 species that we report on, and if you look at the arrow on the right, you can tell that the species list is broken. It goes up to 32 species and then it starts at 74 and ends at 90. So we have 90 species we're reporting on, 73 species are found now, and 17 species could have new habitat by the year 2100. And then there's 8 species that could migrate in within 100 years according to our models. So this page is showing the top 32 and the bottom 17 species. So just by going through these columns, and you see the column headers on the top, I'll just briefly explain them here. Of course, the first two columns are the common and Latin names, and now these are sorted in order of decreasing importance, and I'll get to that in a second. Next, I'm showing a column called range, and that's just basically various tools we use to sort the species as wide or narrow versus distribution across North America, dense versus sparse density when it's found, and high versus low importance value, which is based on the number of stems and the basal area of the trees. So that gives you an idea of the species, how prevalent it is in the eastern or in the Louisville area. And then we have model reliability, which is how trustworthy the model is. We have various tools to assess that, 5 different statistical measures. Then we have the percent cell. That's the percentage of the cells within this 1 by 1 degree area in the Louisville area, either 10 by 10 or 20 by 20 kilometer cells when the species is present. So that's basically a indication of how common the species is across the entire 1 by 1 degree area. Next is FIA sum, and this is basically the importance value, again taken by number of stems and the basal area of those stems within that 1 by 1 degree area, and then calibrate that to the average across the whole area. And this is the main variable we use to sort the species. As you can see, sugar maple ranks highest, followed by eastern red cedar, white ash, yellow poplar, and so forth down the list. These are, if you go to that particular 1 by 1 area and study the entire 100 by 100 kilometer area or so, that is ranking you would see for the species. And then the next one is FIA Ivy. That's the average importance value where the species is found. So the previous one is dealing with averaging across the entire 1 by 1 degree area, whereas this one is if you find the species in those cells where it's present. This is the average importance value ranging from 0 to 100. So again, sugar maple and eastern red cedar are about the same position in the first place for importance where you find it. Then we have change class, and that's our interpretation of the potential habitat changes by 2100. It's based on 2 scenarios of climate change, low, the RCP 4.5, and high 8.5 emission scenarios. And so we've categorized them from large decreaser, small decreaser, no change, small increaser, large increaser, and then new habitat, which is something I'll show in a minute. Adaptability is the capability to deal with the extra disturbances in a changing climate. And it's based on 21 traits scored with the literature. We call them the modification factors. And we have some papers I mentioned in this poster about that too. So the low values are species are likely to do worse than the change class might suggest. Medium values, probably the species would do roughly the same as modeled according to the species change classes. And then high values, the species is likely to do better than the change class. So adaptability plus change class plus this one here called abundance, that all goes together in a class we call capability class, which I'll talk about next. First, the abundance is ranked according to the FIA sum value. And as I said, that's helpful in generating capability. But again, the species are ranked according to FIA sum. So the most abundant species are at the top of the list, then common, then rare, and then absent. So the capability class is our new category, which we call the capability to cope with the changing climate in that particular area. So in the Louisville area, because it's so abundant, the sugar maple will do, we call good under 4.5 scenario and good under 8.5 scenario. But red cedar under the more intense scenario of RCP 8.5, we score it as a very good species for being able to cope with the changing climate. And if you look down the list, also we score white oak and sweet gum and hackberry as very good capability to cope with the changing climate. And next we look at these categories called shift, and these are predicting the capability to infill. These are for relatively rare species that could infill, that increase their abundance where it's already located in the one by one. And if it's scored as migrate, and we have two classes, plus and plus plus, where the new habitat is projected and it has a decent probability of colonization according to our shift model within 100 years. So those are the species that if you want to be proactive and plant new species, perhaps go after the species called migrate, especially the migrate plus plus ones. And so here's a list of some of the infill species for this Louisville area. And here's a list of the migrate species. So some of the species that aren't there now, but could be potential for planting if you want to do assisted migration are shown here. So that's what the tables look like, and we're making these tables for a lot of other zones. And all of these are available online that you can click on inside this poster. So thank you for that. And that's the end of my brief audio.